Suikoden I and II HD Remaster, Gate Rune and Dunan Unification Wars. Oh my goodness, that's a long title. As I'm patiently waiting for the Lunar Remaster collection to come out in April, so I can replay both games for what I think now is the 5th time, I saw Suikoden I and II came out as a remaster as well. I've never played these games before, but I've heard a lot of good things about the second game. Playing them, I understand why people like it. They have interesting characters, a somewhat unique battle system, and a sense of humor at times. This HD remake really only focuses on the visuals as its main selling point. They also added in fast forward ability in the battles, which I appreciated, as the battles can get a little repetitive at times. One of the most frustrating things I found about the game was that it doesn't explain anything. You'll often not know where to go. They'll say go to a random town, like I know where that is. This is more of an issue in the first game, as the second game often gives you hints on where these places are. Let's start with the first game. People told me I need to play it first in order to appreciate the second game more. And playing it, I would agree with that. Not just so you know some of the characters in the second game, but to experience some of the quality of life changes. The first game is about Wiiviewer, who's the son of a great general of the kingdom. You're given a powerful rune to guard from an evil witch who wants it. So you're on the run trying to get away from her while joining up with a rebel group who wants to take down the emperor and gain control of the land. You go from place to place fighting armies and recruiting new people to join you. The biggest problem with the story in this game is that it feels unearned. You're the leader of this group because you were given the rune. However, it could have been anyone that guy gave it to. Your character is not special in any way. They give you their loyalty and offer you their lives as their leader when it makes no real sense. Just because you have this rune? No, you are definitely not the best person to be the leader. If you were the leader, you shouldn't be leaving the castle. This whole game should be about you sending out parties to do your bidding. But no, you're always on the front line. Plus the ending, which I'm not going to spoil, was very anticlimactic. They keep hyping up something that never happens. Then you just have to sit through a bunch of boring what happened to this person text boxes. I would have loved to skip this whole thing, as I don't care who became the Grand Chancellor of the bathroom, or whatever random job they got. They do this in the second game as well. The biggest problem is the main gimmick of this game. They give you the ability to get over 100 people to join you, and only about half of them can join in battle. But that leaves you with a ton of people you don't give a about. They were there just for your goal to catch them all. I like the idea behind it, but the execution has some flaws. They would often improve your base when you got them to join you. So certain people are critical to find, and if you don't find them, it hurts your enjoyment of playing the game. For example, it wasn't until halfway through the game I found a woman who wanted to join my group, and she provided me with an inn which we could heal in, and a save point. She was in this town I had left a few hours ago. I just happened to be in this town, I went in the inn to save, and I saw her. This should not have been missable! Plus there was a teleporting item which would send you back to your base, which you can also miss, which is insane! If you missed it, you would have to be walking back and forth to places, which would be so tiresome. I found almost all the shops for my headquarters, except an orb shop, which could be used to add magic to your characters. I just ended up teleporting to the same town every time I needed to change my orbs. It was very inconvenient. Speaking of inconvenient, the headquarters is a pain to do anything in. Why do I have to go to the highest level to change my party, then go down a couple to change my weapons, then down another one to heal or get items? This should have all been bunched up. I had somewhat the same issue when I reviewed Ys X Nordics, so why do games do this? In addition to the turn-based battles, there are also army battles where you can fight against thousands of people. They have you doing this by doing a paper, rock, scissor type of fight, where one attack is more effective than the other. For example, if an enemy is going to attack, then you're going to want to do a special attack for maximum damage. As you collect people, they might have special moves, like being able to see the army's attack coming up, or powering up certain moves. I thought these sections were okay. I never enjoyed the army battles, but at least its simplistic gameplay moved fast. The same can't be said for the second game. They revamped it to give you more control of your troops. It was so dragged out and dull. If you love games like Advance Wars, I'm sure this is going to be fun for you. But I personally found it so boring, I can't believe I was longing for the simplistic army battles of the first game. Speaking of the second game, I think this is the only thing it does badly. Everything else was an improvement on everything the first game did wrong. For example, in the first game, I spent a great deal of time moving equipment around and making sure all 6 characters were well prepared. It was tedious. The second game added in an optimize button, and I was ecstatic. The game constantly changed the characters that you would control in battle, so you really couldn't set up a main group that you were going to level up, other than your main character. They do this so the main character will have different people to interact with, and so you care about them more. It was fine, but doing this all the time in the first game and having to swap around equipment was just frustrating, and I'm glad they fixed it in the second. It's very clear that the creators took all the criticism they must have gotten from the first game and tried to make it better. For example, the first game is all filled with generic characters for every NPC. In the second game, they give them all different designs. Sure, it makes it a little bit harder to figure out which characters were recruited inscrutable, but I did like that they put in the extra effort to do that. The second game is about Switch and Jory, who escape a sneak attack by the Highland Army. You're on the run for the first third of the game. You're joined by your sister, who's a delightful character, and I always tried to have her in my party. She was a lot of fun, and she added in a lot of humorous situations. They lightened up the story a lot in this one. However, it does eventually turn into a let's get a headquarters, recruit people, and fight back against the army again. It was just a retread of the story of the first game, only told much better with more emotion and heart. There were characters from the first game that returned. I kind of wish the characters from the first game would at least acknowledge that this was seeming awfully familiar. However, once again, they anoint your character the leader, and you're sent out to stop the army from destroying the cities. However, this time it makes a little bit more sense with the story. The battle system was mostly the same in both games. They added in team-up moves with certain characters, and limited the amount of items your character could personally hold. But they added in a bag system, which was way more convenient. Plus, they give you the ability to have more than one rune on your person, which means you can have many different kinds of spells on your character. Both of these games have multiple endings. Which ending you get is dependent on if you get all the characters and fulfill all the checklists that they internally have. For example, you'll get locked out of the best ending if you let one of the characters die in the army battles, which is a little unfair. Suikoden I and II HD Remaster Rune and Dunan Unification Wars was interesting. The second game was wildly better than the first one. If I was to grade them, I would give the first game a grade of a C, and the second game a grade of a B+. If the second game had not just been a retread of the first game, and they had come up with a new idea, I think it could have been an A. Now this is normally $49.99, and I would wait for it to go on sale. The second game is great, but that alone isn't worth spending that much. Now the first game isn't bad, it's just very average, but if you can find this on sale, I'd say it's worth it.